online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello and welcome to an all-new UFC on AfterBuzz TV. My name is Daria Berenato, and I'm here with my lovely co-host, as always, Mr. George Hermoza and Mr. J. Tan. And with us, a new guest on the panel. I wish you would join us every week. But,
okay, I'll do that.
Mr. Herb D.
Let's just get him a gig.
Oh, I think we could. I mean, he's definitely qualified. Not only a former fighter, but also a referee in MMA all over. But specifically speaking, he reffed the event that happened this weekend in Broomfield, Colorado.
Yeah, I did. It was a great event, right?
It was a great event.
It was like 24 hours ago.
It was like 24 hours ago. It was UFC Fight Night 60, Henderson versus Thatch, bringing UFC back to where it started in 1993. 21 years ago, we were in Colorado having UFC 1.
We got it right in the same state, roughly the same altitude, more or less.
Does it feel historic when you go back there?
You know, yeah, it does. I mean, because I remember watching UFC 1. I wasn't there, but one of my training partners was in UFC 1. I trained with Frank Trejo as kickboxing.
Okay.
And I still didn't believe it was going to happen, that first UFC 1. Yeah, because I was, in kickboxing, they were always changing the rules. You could kick inside the leg 1 week. You couldn't do elbows. I was like, there's no way they're going to let these people do this.
Right, yeah.
And then somebody's tooth gets kicked out.
When did you, real quickly, your background, because I think a lot of people, you're probably one of the more recognizable faces and names in MMA. Certainly, especially officiating, but I don't think a lot of people know your background too much, how you got into refereeing, and also the fact that you've got a fight career as well.
Well, yeah, I've always been involved in the sport. I've always done combat sports.
Yeah.
I used to box a little bit. I kickboxed. One of the guys from my kickboxing gym, Zane Frazier, was in UFC 1, so that's when that came up on the radar for us, started trying to prepare for those types of events. I got linked up with a local wrestling coach who had a fight team, Larry Landless.
Sure.
And Larry, we used to do little slap fights. Remember slap boxing?
Okay, yeah.
So we'd have the slap fights. So Shamrock would bring their guys down. We'd be involved in the local ones around here.
All right.
And, we'd host events. Sometimes I'd fight. Sometimes I'd help. Whatever. And
was this in the 90s, roughly?
Yeah, in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. Then one thing led to another, and Larry was refereeing King of the Cage. I'd go out there to help him out because on the Indian reservation we'd have the commission then, so I would do the inspecting, and then I started refereeing, and the rest is. Yeah, so I would fight every now and then. I wasn't that fierce of a competitor. It wasn't somebody. It was something I liked doing martial arts, and then every now and then, maybe once a year or something, like, I should probably have a fight.
Do you remember your first refereeing gig?
Yeah, King of the Cage. I don't remember the exact one, but it was at King of the Cage.
Was it the Saboba Casino?
Oh, definitely.
San Joaquinto, not far. Roughly.
Yeah.
Was it Forrest Griffin versus Steve Say?
I don't know that, but I know that I did referee.
The tapology is wrong because it says King of the Cage 20, December 15, 2002, Forrest Griffin versus Steve Say.
I was refereeing before that.
Well, you're wrong here. I need to
Tapology is wrong.
send an email straight from Herb Dean that it's wrong.
I don't want to, because then they're going to ask me to correct it, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it alone.
Either way, it was definitely a long time ago. You've been refereeing for quite some time now, and I mean, I think a lot of people in this sport look at you as one of the best referees. I mean, you're a veteran at it. You've been around for so long, and a lot of these fans recognize you from the UFC. Do you have a favorite match in mind that you've reffed?
I get asked that question a lot, and I honestly don't have a favorite match. There's been so many awesome events, and that's the one thing about our sport is like this. Just every time you think you've seen it all, you see something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and
You can say that again this week.
Yeah.
But that's later on in the show.
Well, we're going to get back to all the Herb Dean information because I personally love learning about the sport and learning about, the mind of the people that are behind it, like referees especially. But first, let's talk about this card, and we're going to dive you into it
it's
because
not
you
all
were
about me?
there.
It's not all about
Next
me?
week. Next week. Next week is a
It
Herb
actually
Dean
is
show.
all about you.
Yeah, when you won't be here, it'll be all about you.
Okay, all right, that makes me feel better.
We're going to start from the bottom of the card with James Moonwalker Moonstrassi. He defeated Jake the Fist Fister. Moonwalker won.
Oh, the Fister.
The fist.
Go ahead.
I'm sitting on a panel with 3 boys or men, and I thought that wasn't.
That's
gonna
one of the
happen.
upcoming
Silly me.
the upcoming arch rivals or the nemesis in the Flash series.
Moonstrassi versus Fister.
The Fister, yeah. I'm sure Carlos will find somebody and name him the Fister.
Anyway, James Moonwalker won via rear naked choke in round 2. He's a local guy. We know him, me and Jay and I. So congratulations to you, James. It was his second fight in the UFC at 155. Next, we have Zach Funside Mikowski defeating Tim Elliott. Mikowski won via unanimous decision. Next on the card, we have Chaz the Scrapper Skelly defeated Jim the Beast Allers. Skelly threw an illegal knee there at the end. I don't know if it necessarily affected the decision. Either way, Skelly won via TKO.
Yeah, right at the very end, the referee called for TKO at 4 minutes 59.
I did see that, yeah.
What did you think about the knee? Did you think it was after the fact and it was going to get stopped anyway?
I think, the referee did say that he had moved in to stop it before the knee hit.
Right.
It was at the, and I believe it was incidental. I don't believe that, I don't think that he was targeting him as a downed opponent.
Right.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that, like when they did the flash, the knee was in motion.
Yeah. Allers, his body was dropping as the knee went in to make contact.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah.
Just bad timing. Efren Hecho in Mexico Escudero. That is quite the name. He defeated.
Made in Mexico, in case you didn't know.
Is that what it means?
Yeah. Hecho in Mexico.
Well, that's a good name. He defeated Rodrigo de Lima via unanimous decision. We were supposed to have another fight at 145. Nick Letts versus Levon Makashvili. Okay, that was canceled because Letts suffered from flu-like symptoms. This is the second time that Letts had a fight get canceled due to some sort of illness. Last time it was his opponent, Charles Oliveira, and this time it was him. So that's unfortunate.
Usually that happens just based on fact or previous times where maybe issues with making weight, and just kind of saying flu-like symptoms. That's kind of a. I didn't make weight. Oh no, I'm gonna say I had the flu. You know what I mean?
Maybe I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think people lie and kind of say they're feeling flu-like symptoms because of a bad weight cut, or?
I don't think so. I think that because they usually send the doctor over.
The doc checks them out. Yeah.
If the fighter is trying to make weight, I mean that's kind of a rare moment, I would think, of someone trying to back out of a fight saying I have flu-like symptoms, and the translation is I couldn't make weight.
Right.
I think. I don't know, but I just imagine over here they got a lot of doctors floating around.
Oh
yeah. If you it's not like calling in sick to school. They'll send
yeah.
Right.
You've got to prove that you're sick.
Yeah. They show up
with a fever and sweats and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're usually pretty good about being honest about that kind of stuff.
But that's just me. Just making it because I'm not there. I don't even go to the weigh-ins anymore. I used to go, but no.
Yeah.
You just show up when it's game time?
Yeah, show up and do my thing.
Next we have Ray, I really like this name, the Taz Mexican Devil. Like Tasmanian Devil.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Borg. He defeated Chris, the Greek assassin, Kalades. This was probably my favorite fight of the night, if not my second favorite to the main event. Ray Borg won via Kimura in round 3. But
his nickname should be the Psy.
The Psy? Why?
Ray the Cyborg. Come on.
I didn't see that one.
I didn't see that one coming.
I co-sign on that. It's a good one. Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah, and he won a performance bonus for his efforts. There was a sweet Kimura in round 3.
Oh my God, his takedowns were beautiful, and his top pressure, his jiu-jitsu was phenomenal. His wrestling was really good as well. Just the top pressure that he kept on Chris the entire fight was really impressive.
Yeah.
Did you like that fight?
Oh yeah, that Kimura was nice. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Next, we have Kevin Motown Phenom Lee defeating Michelle Pizarras. Lee, definitely the younger and quicker fighter on this card. There was quite a big age difference. I think Kevin Lee was 23 and Michelle was somewhere in his late 30s. I'm not sure exactly what the age difference was, but Kevin Lee won via unanimous decision as well.
He looked very good. He controlled that match.
So good.
Yeah.
I think Michelle was having maybe a little bit of cardio problems compared to Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee looked fresher coming into the second round than Michelle did. But
it didn't seem like it was. I think it was due to the control. I think that there was moments where Lee would, what was the other Michelle?
Kevin Lee and Michelle.
Where Michelle would take a lead, but he expended some energy. He was making some very explosive movements to get some ground, and then Lee wouldn't really engage or get flustered when he just go right back to the plan and start controlling it.
Stay calm and control the fight.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering that between this and another match. I'm not quite sure what. Maybe it was the next one, or talk about Kelly versus Walsh. But it seemed like these guys coming from, Prazeres presumably coming from Brazil. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know exactly where he was training, what city. So I wonder whether he had the elevation similar to Broomfield, such that he could get used to it. Where it's one thing if you're coming from another part of the U.S. to Colorado or Albuquerque and having to get used to the elevation, but come from Brazil,
a different country, right?
Yeah, different country. You've got a longer travel time, and there's jet lag. There's a lot more to get over, and then on top of that, you've got this elevation. Excuse me.
Right.
So I wonder if that possibly played a role in it. That might have been.
I think it very well could have. I mean,
possible.
Michelle prior to this fight was 18-1.
Yeah.
They said that he's a retired Brazilian law enforcement officer, and they gave credit to that for his tough grit that he had in the cage, which he definitely was tough as
looked
nails.
like a little mini Hulk.
Yeah, he was a beast. I mean, when he took his back, there was a threat, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he took his back really smooth, and he definitely definitely a threat.
He definitely had explosive strength and power. You could see over Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee kind of seemed like the calm, like you said, calmer, more composed fighter. Kind of just felt it out and played it out with his long reach and used his jab and his stand-up more.
Yeah. Prazeres really did seem to gas out, especially in the third. There just wasn't anything left. And by that point, Kevin was in not quite cruise control, but in control of the match, and it's not like he was forced to really put on the pressure, to come from behind.
Right.
But yeah, it was a decent one. Kevin Lee definitely is going to be somebody to watch for in the next 6 months.
I agree. He's super young, so he has plenty of time to do so.
I want to hear your thoughts on the next match.
Oh, do you want to hear my thoughts? Because you didn't hear it enough when we just watched it? Okay.
I want everybody to hear.
Well, the next match, cardio definitely played a factor. It was Dan Kelly defeated Patrick Walsh. These guys are the 185ers. He defeated him via unanimous decision.
That was, this was not the most exciting match. Slugfest. Two of the biggest guys on the card, obviously, standing and trading.
Well, you have a high-level judo practitioner versus a high-level wrestler, and they decided to, like Herb said earlier, they decided to stand and box.
Right.
And it wasn't exactly what we were expecting to see. I thought, you got a judo versus wrestler. Sometimes they cancel each other out, so they do try to stand.
That's kind of what I figured.
Use their counterpoint. But I would have rather them played the cage a little bit and use that judo and wrestling, because that's clearly where their skills lied.
Both guys came in looking like they could probably, with some proper dieting, make 170 and maybe be stronger for it. I mean, both guys had a little bit around the midsection there.
Yeah, definitely.
You're a lot nicer here on the panel than you were in the trailer when we were watching.
You're calling me out, George?
Well, I'm just saying.
Patrick Walsh.
She called me out too, because she said, like Herb said, I was trying to say something about the whole thing. I was like, I'm going to see if I can just. I can say that I was looking forward to seeing some good judo in the UFC. It's always nice when you get to see some good throws. So I didn't get to see any throws.
Yeah, Patrick Walsh was throwing wild, crazy punches. They were almost coming from his waist. He was keeping his hands down, his guard low, kind of trying to throw those overhand rights and maybe look for a takedown, but he never got the takedown. And then Dan Kelly was strictly counterpunching in rounds 1 and 2. In round 3, he started to attack a little bit more, but mostly counterpunching off of rounds 1 and round 2.
Yeah, this was not a fight of the night candidate.
No, the crowd was booing the entire second and third round, and while they were announcing the winner, they were booing as well. So
I give Kelly credit for staying composed, because I think at first those the hooks that he was coming in, it's got to be hard when somebody's just walking right at you with no respect, throwing big hooks.
Right.
And he stuck to the plan, and it paid off for him.
He definitely stayed more composed and just counterstruck to Patrick Walsh's wild, crazy punches. Next, we had a really good fight. We had Neil Magny defeated Kiichi Kunimoto. Magny is on a 6-fight win streak now. He won via rear naked choke in round 3.
Yeah, he's kind of one of the up-and-coming darlings, it seems. Been around for certainly long enough, but had a great 2014. Was somebody we talked about as possibly being fighter of the year last year, or I think actually maybe was one of our viewers, maybe our guy Joe Bozeman. I think somebody mentioned Neil Magny, and it was very valid.
Someone threw his name.
I'm not sure if it was Joe or not, but anyway, he had a great year and continues it, and it's nice to see that happen and to see him continue that interesting streak, and we'll see if he stays as busy. It sounded like he wants to.
It's not just luck. If you look at the way he's definitely a much better fighter. He had a lot of talent and was a tough fighter to begin with. He showed a lot of talent, but you can see that he's constantly improving himself.
He's grown inside the octagon over the years.
Yeah, similar trajectory as Cowboy from last year. Cowboy Cerrone.
Yeah, absolutely. Over the past couple years, really. I mean, he's developed into such a great fighter. Did we see him last weekend? I think we talked to Cowboy Cerrone last weekend, didn't we? George, didn't you have an interview with Donald Cerrone last weekend?
Yeah. It's on YouTube.
They
Look
just
it up.
chopped it
Donald Cerrone, AfterBuzz TV.
It is out
hear
there.
His thoughts.
It's out there, guys.
Just about stuff.
And it's very interesting.
And he's a double fister.
And he's a double fister. He's holding 2 Budweisers while giving the interview, so it's very entertaining.
Yeah, as opposed to a Jake Fister. He's a double fister. See how I bring it back to bacon?
Cody Fister.
Oh, my Lanta.
Cody
Fister.
Okay.
Yeah, it ruined,
Well,
it
As
ruined
opposed to
the
him
joke.
either.
Yeah. Him too. His
In
brother.
round 3, Magny
Max
did
Holloway.
some awesome combinations. He ended up getting Kunimoto's back and finishing him.
Yeah, the first round was, I felt pretty even. It seemed like there was a lot of feeling out between them. Magny was good. There was a lot of clinch work. Magny was effective with his knees. In the second round, more clinching. Kunimoto got a takedown, but Magny was able to escape. There was this one moment I remember watching live and noting a couple people later on talking about it on Twitter. Everyone was echoing the same sentiment when Magny pushes Kunimoto up against the cage and just starts letting fist fly, and it looks like he was going to finish him.
Yeah.
It was really, and then suddenly, inadvertently slipped on a banana peel, just kind of whoop, goes backwards, and it was kind of like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
I said, like Barney Fife grabs defeat from the jaws of victory, as it were, and. Thankfully, Magny still got a takedown and was working, dropping pretty heavy ground and pound on the end. He definitely won the second.
Yeah, I only find those moments unfortunate when the wrong person wins. But in this case, Magny still came out with the victory,
he was able to come back and get the rear naked choke and early in the third, as it was. Good for him.
We had.
What did you think about that? Actually, I'm looking at my notes here. That's one of your matches.
I did referee that match. I thought.
What was that slip? Talk about it. You.
Well, he told about it. He went to throw a knee, I believe, right, and slipped. Sometimes happen. I guess he wanted it to really land hard. So he went to throw a knee. He's like, man, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was a really impressive.
How was the energy inside of that?
Oh
match?
No, he was coming after him, and it was a hard fought fight, and he hung in there to the end, but he got the choke and had the tap.
What's your take on him as his potential for 2015? I mean, he's knocking on the door of the bottom half of the top 15. I would think in the next 1 or 2 matches, probably the next one, I would think he'd probably get a lower top 15 guy.
Well, it does make sense, Yeah. And I think I don't know. I don't know how those things happen, how they make those decisions. But I think he did. Hey, I know that I heard him saying he wants a top 10 fight. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, he's. I believe he trains. Gotta look at my notes, but is he with the Lab in Arizona?
Not sure.
No, I take that back. Wasn't who was in his corner? Nate Marquardt. I take that back. That would be
Quest?
That's local. No, Denver area. I want to say Grudge.
I believe that's what it is.
Yeah, I know. I remember seeing Marquardt in his corner, so I know it was at least in the local area. But
so he definitely didn't have to adjust any.
Yeah, I mean, certainly he's got decent training partners to take him that far. I just I'm curious to see how far he can go. It's kind of a name that's under the radar for a lot of casual fans, but as
he has a very interesting build for a 170-pound guy. He's very tall, like you said. I think he's like 6'2",
6'3". He was listed as good long reach,
really long reach,
80-inch wingspan.
There's a lot of those guys out there, 170s, over 6'2", huh? Starting to be more and more of them, yeah.
Right.
It's interesting to see, because, I mean, 170, you're definitely a big guy, but you're either tall and lean and thin, or you're short and more muscular
packed, muscular,
packed with power.
I mean, the guy in the main event, Brandon Thatch, he's 6'2".
Perfect example.
And he fought at 170, so I mean he's a big 170, but still,
he's definitely a big.
If
170.
he can make it, then why not?
Absolutely.
If he can make it healthily or. Been in a healthy way.
See, I've always felt like that was the thing in terms of if you had to make a broad generalization about what's the best physique for MMA or what lends itself best. There's been the age-old conversations about what discipline was best for a sport like this. Largely what the sport was all based on, and one of the popular arguments is that wrestling is the best base for it. If you're a wrestler and you can control your body, control somebody else's body on the ground, then you can go and learn submissions and you can learn striking. You put that all together, but wrestling is the best base.
Is the core, right?
Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations or debates about what is the best body type that fits in there, and I really think we'll talk about Anderson, but the taller, lanky guys like the John Jones, Phil Davis. I still believe these taller, lanky guys that still do have muscle, maybe not packed, yoked out, jacked up muscles, but that kind of I'm going to call it cardio muscles, for lack of a better phrase. That where you can get a really strong grip. Those seem to lend themselves a lot to MMA because you have the reach, but you can also use that in jiu-jitsu as well, in your grappling.
It's also if there's a lot of games that it lends itself towards.
Yeah.
I think because of the reach, but then there's also the ability in fight because our sport there is elbows and whatnot. But also I think one of the biggest things that people are kind of undervaluing is the fact of the leverage. It's like the smaller compact guys have a lot of strength. But, to turn somebody with leverage and to get the pickup, when you are able to have a bigger turn, that makes a big difference. Or even
because it's easier to turn them.
Yeah, you can turn someone like somebody's really strong. They turn. I have this much more leverage.
Yeah.
I can go further. You can turn me. But when I turn you, if I'm taller than you,
you have those longer legs. You have more spring. More,
it's gonna take you out. Also, even something like Tito. Most of his takedowns were get a body lock, drop a little bit, pick the guy up. He's about this. He's taller than most of them. He get him up just a little bit.
Yeah.
The ability to do that is huge.
Yeah,
that's true. And then you have the smaller guys that have the usually the better sense of gravity, and you know what I mean. Typically, your big wrestlers are the shorter, stockier guys. But I think MMA, we've seen it evolve so much, and I think it's going to continue to evolve. And we're going to look at fighters in 20 years from now, and they're all going to look different than they do today. But I think we're starting to see in the modern era of MMA, I think we are seeing a lot of our top 15 guys being the longer guys, because if they can utilize the reach advantage that they have, it really is that. It's an advantage.
Yeah. After I just said all that about the advantage, our current champion is one of the shorter guys. And then last night was the night of the shorter guys, I think, as we get further on the show.
There's that argument as well.
But I do think that if guys, once they learn how to develop all that full game, all the different, because it's almost like John Jones. He seems like he shows different styles. He has different games that he plays. It's not just one game. And once they get all the games that body type can play.
I know that when I was wrestling in high school, we would drill legs being on top position, slipping your leg in from behind. It's kind of like having hooks, in jiu-jitsu, slipping your leg in. And I could never do that because my legs are so damn short. I was like, I want to do this, but shit, that's going to screw me.
Yeah.
And I'd get pinned.
Long limbs on the ground are definitely an advantage. Speaking of long limbs, we have Max Holloway defeating Cole Miller.
Yeah.
These two guys are very tall and very lanky, just like we were talking about.
Tall drinks of water there.
Yeah, Cole Miller with the height and reach advantage there. I have bad bleeding by Miller at the bottom, but I have bad blood with Miller. He stole my boxing gloves.
Talk to the camera on that.
He stole my first pair of boxing gloves.
Oh, Jesus.
I was training at Coconut Creek, American Top Team. They were my first pair of gloves. They were Everlast. They were from like Dick's Sporting Goods.
I'll buy you a new pair.
Gloves. I have a new pair, but I'm not over this. And they had my name written in them. And I come to the gym, and I'm like, oh my God, I left my gloves here. Assuming they'd be in Lost and Found, because who would steal my Everlast gloves? They have
Cole Miller, apparently.
they're fancy Hayabusa ones, and I never thought they'd be gone. So I'm like, where are my gloves? And he's a fighter. He's a friend of mine, Blake Bowman, comes up to me and goes, Cole Miller stole your gloves. And I was like, can I have them back? He's like, no, he's not going to give them back. And I'm like, okay. Now, I don't know if it was Cole or Micah, but I'm pretty sure it was Cole. But it was one of the Miller brothers. They stole my gloves.
You never got them back?
Never got them back. But I have a pretty pair of white ones now.
So there you go.
Ones, yeah, that's okay.
You're fine.
I'm over
Still.
it.
Apparently you're not over it.
No, I'm really not.
You might have been able to get him back in Colorado.
At least, are you happy that he lost then?
No, I would have loved to have
It's
seen him
karma
win.
saying Cole Miller stole your gloves, so let's have him lose.
No,
because those gloves would have helped him to that victory.
Exactly.
She could
My
have
gloves
claimed
have
a little
magic
bit
in
of
them.
a little share of the.
Were they 4-ounces or were they kickboxing gloves?
No, they were like 16-ounce gloves.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, they wouldn't have helped him in this match.
No. But in his training, they could have given him that magic special.
Excuse me.
AfterBuzz rub that we give everybody before they win.
Yeah,
after
they had
come
your
here.
sweat in there.
Yeah. And my name.
Holloway looked good in this match.
He did.
There was a lot of movement in the first round. Both guys were moving around a lot. It seemed like they were kind of measuring themselves out, looking for the openings. Bit of a clinch. Miller swept Holloway and was threatening with a leg bar. A knee bar or a leg bar?
Knee bar.
Knee
I'm
bar,
calling
thank
it
you.
knee bar.
Yeah. At the end of the match. End of the first round, rather.
Transition into a heel hook.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Cole Miller is such an unorthodox fighter in every way. I mean, his back was up against the cage and he jumped guard. He didn't follow through with it. He backed out because he realized that Max Holloway wasn't going to play that game. But he jumped guard from being his back against the cage. He jumped guard again in the third round.
Yeah.
And then with that setup with the knee bar, he was that scissor sweep, scissor takedown. Yeah.
He's just
so it's not
so
scissor sweep, but like a
unorthodox.
scissor takedown.
Yeah, he took him right on top of him. He does have a great jiu-jitsu game off of his back, so he was definitely confident in that position.
Yeah, but to Holloway's credit, I gave him the second and I think the third as well. In the third he dropped Miller. It seemed like he was working the body a lot, and Miller couldn't quite get into his range there, to keep up with Holloway's pace of striking. There was a headbutt in the second, and I believe maybe a second one in the second as well, kind of accidental off of flying knee.
The first one seemed incidental. The second one just kind of seemed like he was just complaining just to complain. Like he felt something, and he probably automatically thought it was a headbutt, just because it happened before, like instinctively.
What did you say?
Well, I'm going to say it was a clash of heads, and if I'm not the one feeling it, then I don't really know how much it felt. So,
Good answer.
It doesn't really. I've seen punches that don't look like very much knock someone out. Like, what was that? How'd that put him out? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought the first one, it was a headbutt, but it was obviously incidental. It wasn't intentional. So they gave him a minute there to kind of regroup himself and make sure his cut wasn't going to, profusely bleed into his eye. It seemed fine. And then the second headbutt, it kind of seemed like his head just skimmed his head. It wasn't like a head butt.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a clashing of the head.
Neither of them were. Like neither of them were butts. They were clashes. And we have a sport where head control is one of the biggest things when you're inside fighting.
Absolutely.
That's about the first thing you have to do is get your head in a position where you can control the other fighter. So guys' heads are going to clash and move around. The first headbutt didn't seem like it was that hard of a clash, but you know what? It cut him, and it was a good cut, and you know something can be just right, and right there, especially along the brow, it's easy to make a cut right there, especially with the head or the elbows.
It did seem to open up after the flying knee and the clash of heads.
It was really bothering Miller.
Again.
You could see he was playing with it all through rounds 2 and 3. It was bleeding well into his eyeball.
Yeah. Now we talked about after the first headbutt where it did the clash of heads, the cut did open up. I guess it was a little bit of surprise amongst us that the referee didn't bring in the doctor to take a look, or at least a cut man to tend to it. And you were speaking about that. You felt that because it was accidental, that there wasn't.
Well, here's the deal. What I was saying was that that's in his prerogative to do it. I think that but our sport is a new sport, so I think what you're going to see in the next couple of years is a lot of the mechanics. We're going to start reviewing a lot of the mechanics and making them tightening them up more, and so like take away some of the prerogative. There'll be some more shalls in there. Definitely, he would not bring in the cut man because we're not allowed to do any of that. The cut man can only come into the fight during the break time.
Okay.
He cannot come in during the timeout and assist the fighter. But the doctor could have came in and take a look at it. At the same time, it wasn't a cut. Like if it was a cut that had happened from a punch, from a fair blow, it's not something that the referee would have, brought the doctor in on. But since it was a foul, you could make an argument for that mechanic. But the doctor's there to give us advice on a cut. So you see a cut that's like, I'm not sure about this because of the placement or the depth or whatnot, then you're going to bring in somebody who knows a little more than you to give you some advice on it.
But you said it didn't look. I think you used diamond shaped. Or
yeah, it was a straight cut, and it was right there at the brow. It didn't go inside of his lash or inside of his eyelid or anything like that. So I could see that it wasn't a cut that.
So because it wasn't threatening to the fighter's eyesight in that referee's eyes, pardon the pun, you felt like that was why he probably didn't.
Well, and that's his prerogative at this point. Even though who knows that may change in the future. I think people have talked about that. That may be something that the referee shall do. But at this point, it's his prerogative to do that.
Okay, got it. I see.
Big ups to Max Holloway too on a 5-fight winning streak. He lost. He lost against our favorite McGregor 6 fights ago, and now he's on a 5-fight winning streak. And now they already announced him against Cub Swanson in about 2 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
That should be fun. SoCal's favorite fighter.
One of the commentators, I don't know if it was Joe Rogan or John Anik, he was saying that.
Definitely wasn't Joe Rogan.
No.
Since he had the night off.
He had the night off. Well,
might have been Dan Hardy.
But anyway, he was saying Max Holloway, it looked like he was playing a video game because his combinations were so beautiful. Yeah. Just the way he was mixing his punch combinations with his kick combinations. It really looked beautiful.
Yeah, so many exciting matchups developing. So which weight class do you think is the most exciting right now?
Ooh, 55.
Okay.
What do you think, George?
145 is looking good with McGregor.
Good too.
55 is always fun.
55. 45's got the Irish accent.
Yeah.
Come on.
The entire division has the Irish accent. Work for Lucky Charms. I'll just go up on the hop about and talk about it like this too now.
Middleweight shaping up with Jacare and Yoel Romero.
Yeah.
Light heavyweight's always fun, but John Jones is just cleaning out that division. I mean,
no, but Rumble's in there now.
I was going to say, I think the best thing to happen to UFC is for Rumble winning.
Yeah.
Anything that would change up the whole aspect of a division, it's always fun.
Absolutely.
That's why about a year ago it was good that Hendricks won.
Well, that's what made the 145 pound division so interesting, that Conor came into the mix. And 155 is interesting.
Because even let's say Aldo beats McGregor, it's like, oh, now what? It's like,
I was going to say.
I think even if he does, I think I would still be excited. Well, because it's soon for him to have that match, but whether he does or not, I'm still excited to see him fight the other guys he hasn't. There's a couple of other exciting fights for him there.
Yeah. Who else? Who would be next? Frankie?
Yeah, that's exciting.
I do
that
like
would be
that.
An amazing fight.
As a hypothetical.
I mean, it's happened before. I mean, I thought
Cub Swanson, right? He hasn't fought Cub Swanson yet.
He fought him in WEC.
Okay, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
But he fought Edgar. I thought that was a phenomenal fight.
We have Edgar Uriah Faber coming up.
Yeah,
but then again, Edgar's a guy that Aldo already beat like twice already.
In terms of title contention,
okay, I'm talking about McGregor hasn't fought.
Oh, McGregor, yeah. Oh, yeah. If McGregor wins, if Johnson wins, that's probably will be the best thing.
Even if McGregor, like he said, McGregor loses, we have all these top 5 guys that haven't fought McGregor yet, and then you build him back up to a rematch.
Because I'm not always
McGregor.
I'm one of those people. I can get excited about a fight that is not the title fight. You know,
Sure.
just for the style matchups and just for so.
Agreed.
There's a lot of exciting
Absolutely.
things.
But I think in terms of title contention right now, lightweight and even actually welterweight is most fascinating to me in terms of the dynamics of different potential title shots.
Yeah.
Now, featherweight and 205, those stories are who's going to be the guy to knock off the champion that's been reigning for so long. And, by default, kind of the same story for the women's bantamweight title. But the problem is that there's not really a contender, I don't think, that no one's really... We've got Katzengano who's going to challenge. But then after that... We're kind of going, who's next after that?
You have a build-up process that's going on right now. They're building up Holly Holm. They're building up... I guess
that's it. That's exactly the point.
They have Holly Holm coming, which might put a little stir in the mix if she can reign with the top 10 girls, and then eventually get to Ronda. Katzengano, I'm telling you guys, I say this every time Ronda fights somebody, like you said, but it's true. She keeps fighting the next best person.
Right,
so I'm not just saying, oh, this one's the best, because I'm just saying that. It's actually true.
In the
up to this point.
You didn't mention Batch in the build-up?
Batch Kohei, yeah, of course.
True.
She's before Holly Holm to get that title shot. She would be after Katzengano. If Katzengano loses to Ronda Rousey, give her bet. I mean, Miesha Tate wants Batch Kohei. I don't know if you give her to Miesha first or.
I think we're going to see more mix and matching and chess pieces moving in the other divisions than in Ronda's division. I think Ronda's going to be there for a while. Loses. Yeah, the story of that division is going to be the same for a while. I don't think that Ronda's going to lose. That would be my early prediction. Whereas McGregor and Aldo,
I think Rumble has a great chance, but I learned after last fight never bet against John Jones.
Yeah, that's true. And he's a guy that always pulls through, and no matter what diversity we put him through.
But those two other divisions, closest, much closer title matches in terms of skill level and the potential for change than in Ronda's division.
I agree with the potential for change, yes.
Yeah, and that's what I think is, to me, personally, makes them, the most exciting ones.
Well, that's what makes the strawweight division exciting for the women, because it's so newly established. The champion, Carla Esparza, hasn't even defended her title yet. So I'm curious to see, is it going to be a bantamweight, mimic? Is it going to be one of those divisions where, no one's going to beat Carla? It's going to be, you're going to give her girl after girl after girl, and she's going to knock their heads off? Or is it going to be one of those weight classes where everybody's so good and you can't keep a champion because
kind of like the light heavyweight before John Jones
exactly
got it.
Yeah, where there's constant moving pieces. So I think that's exciting in itself, that it's new, you know what I mean, and there's so much change to happen in the next couple months with it.
I just thought on one, for the sake of the promoters and having to sell the last names of fighters, I really hope Carla Esparza wins for the sake of the promoters, because I don't know how.
Joanna Zazinski, or
I don't know. I got to go back and practice her last name.
Me too.
But if Joanna, dethrones Carla, then the casual fans are going to have a field day.
They're going to have to come up with a nickname.
Learn that name. Yeah.
They can't call her JoJo because
I'm sure Dana White's happy that John Jones is a champion.
John Jones, Jose Aldo.
170, I think, should be exciting, especially if Benson Henderson stays at 170.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Moving on to the main event. He looked good. He looked great.
He looked great.
And,
he looked smooth.
Look at that. Big ups to Brandon Thatch, too. I mean, he looked really good as well. And to have a guy against Benson Henderson, who is a top athlete in the lightweight division, former champion, lost some, razor thin matches in the.
Did we talk about the fight yet?
Not yet.
Let's talk about
it right now.
Let's get into that.
Either way, Brandon Thatch looked good. I mean, I thought he was somebody who definitely belonged with a top caliber athlete like Benson Henderson. So I hope something like Thatch doesn't go down just because he's not ranked or because
I don't think he will go down.
I don't think he'll go down. Well, okay. First of all, Benson Henderson took this fight on 2 weeks' notice, replacing Wonderboy Thompson. And there was a third guy that was in this cage that can probably give us a great perspective of the fight. Mr. Herb Dean, you were in the cage with these two beasts. Could you see the size difference between Benson Henderson and Brandon Thatch?
Yes. I mean, to be honest, I don't know what they both weighed at that time, because sometimes you can be surprised by those thick people. But when he walked in, he definitely was one of the biggest 170s I've seen. To me, that's what he
Brandon Thatch.
Yeah, Brandon Thatch. He's definitely a big 170.
Going against a guy that's used to fighting at 155.
Yeah. So it definitely was a.
And you can tell the size difference, too. And especially that second round where he kept sweeping Benson. I'm like, dude, Benson is way over himself.
Yeah.
Little did I know 2 rounds later, but,
They were like these little leg trips.
Yeah. And it was one of those rounds, like, there's, like, you could feel those first 2 rounds, you could definitely feel it. Well, for me, I felt the tension and I felt a danger. Like, in each of those techniques could have been fight-ending techniques. They were coming after it. Both of them did a great job. I thought it was a really exciting fight. Ben did a good job of looking at everything, seeing everything, and
The story of that match to me very much was Henderson kind of sticking and moving the whole time. And, I mean, he'd be in, he was working the body, and then get out. As he does, he moves around a lot. He was effective from the outside, circling around just as much as when he was in the center. To that end, though, Thatch was always, I felt, he was always in it. He was always in the fight. He took the fight to Henderson as well. Some decent kicks, a lot of headshots coming in, with combos straight to the head. I gave Thatch the second round specifically for those 2 sweeps, but Henderson was definitely in it in that second round. The first and the third, to me, were pretty decisively Henderson. But again, Thatch, did nothing to embarrass himself or deserve a losing round.
No.
They were reasonably close. To me, this was in the short 2015 that we've had so far, possibly one of my favorite matches in terms of closeness. For me, that's a great fight. Is one where it can go either way.
Yeah,
we didn't see that with any of the other main events so far in the UFC for this year.
And it was a David and Goliath match.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. David held his own and took it to him.
He did. I mean, Benson Henderson went in there with the perfect game plan. He was the smaller guy, the quicker guy, a guy that has been known in the past to have some of the best cardio in the UFC, and he's in Colorado with such high elevation, and he plays the stick and move game. Who can keep up with that? Not many guys. Brandon Thatch did an amazing job, like you said, of always being at the end of Benson Henderson's reach. I think he had a longer reach advantage, and he was kind of just always right there and playing a really good counter game, but Benson Henderson was just so smooth, no pun intended, getting in and out and really, landing those shots.
Yeah, well, we talked about, some of the games that a fighter with his build would play, and so we'll probably be looking for him to add some of that other stuff to his game.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about, reach advantage and using your strengths to your ability.
Yeah. I mean, I think if he ends up staying at 170, I think guys like Eric Silva, maybe Wonder Boy, maybe even Matt Brown, I think would be good matchups for Benson Henderson, just to see if...
Imagine that.
These are fights that I've been waiting to see for years.
Well, I mean, if you can do it, why not?
I would never think to see happen.
Even when he was champion, there was always not always, but more of a super fight with him and GSP, more so than GSP and Silva when they were both the champions.
Right.
And those, that's something I wanted to see.
George and Henderson.
Yeah. St. Pierre and Benson? Not me, but Benson, Henderson, and
right.
And
I know that was talked about. I didn't think it was that close, though.
No, I'm saying close. I'm saying I thought that would have been a lot closer for that to happen than GSP versus Silva.
Right.
Because of Benson wanting to move up to 170.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, it was a decent show that had a lot of rounds. I don't think this is going to go down as one of the top events of 2015 but
I think it's lack of name value.
Yeah,
I mean
in terms of name value, I mean, it was definitely performances delivered on this card, but for the casual MMA fan, I don't think they can appreciate it as much as we could because there was
that main event definitely delivered.
Oh, definitely.
As far as insulting the fans like that, I have no part of that insult. You guys appreciated that fight. You guys know good fights. When you see them, you appreciate it just as much as I did.
I mean, I appreciate good reffing too. I mean, probably
the way to do it.
Probably one of the greatest calls, and you probably get asked this all the time, is Frank Mir versus Tim Sylvia.
I might have told this story before.
I mean, you can watch it on Fight Pass, UFC Fight Pass for $9.99. I know I watch it all the time on Fight Pass, but just the visual of it, it's kind of hard to watch.
Set it up,
but just knowing that you're, is it cognizant? Is that a word?
Yes.
Cognizant enough to see that. Like, how do you even see that? Like, not to say that any of the refs wouldn't have seen it, but
I was in a good position.
It was for the UFC heavyweight title. Mir was it? No, Sylvia was defending against Frank Mir, correct? And Mir was on his back and had Sylvia in an armbar. Sylvia was standing over him, and unfortunately, I can relate a lot because I had ended up having a very similar injury.
Wow.
Yeah, pins and needles in there. And so, guys, essentially, Tim is like this, and Frank has got the armbar, and Herb is right there and sees it. You see this little. You can watch this on the clip. You see this pop happen right here, right?
Yeah. Well, what happened is he's long limbed. So Tim Sylvia does the right thing. He gets his elbow over the fulcrum of his hips,
right?
And so that's the thing. But they're heavyweights, and they're, for one, he has long limbs, and the other thing with Tim Sylvia is that with Frank Mir is he'll go and crank on something, and you can, if you pull hard enough, if you once somebody gets the elbow pass, there is a certain way you can do an arm bar where usually it'll pop a tendon here. You have to squeeze tight with your leg. There's a couple of ways to do it once someone does get it past that.
Yeah.
But I never thought I would see someone's bones break, both of them, the radius and the ulna.
Yep.
Right there.
Pop.
Yeah. And
And it was a nasty thing. And so here's the punchline to the whole thing. Herb calls it, right? And stops the match. Tim looks up at him. He's got this little outward dent in his arm going, "What's going on? Why'd you stop the fight? We're fighting, man. I'm ready to go." And I remember, I think I might have been at this fight, come to think of it, because I remember it kind of flashing back to me going, ooh, like once I saw it on the big screen, I said, no, that's, how does Tim want to fight again? I remember when this happened to me, and I couldn't take a sip of water because my body had gone into shock and I didn't know what was going on. So how Tim is sitting there going, yeah, let's do it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I asked him about that. I asked him because I saw him at the around the hotel casino later that evening after he come back from the hospital. And I said, well, did you know your arm was broken? He said, yeah, I knew it was broken. Oh, well, what was your plan? You wanted to fight still? He goes, well, I knew I had a little bit of time before the pain totally crippled me, so I was going to knock him out with my other hand.
Oh, my God.
That was literally what he said. I was
what a warrior.
Like, okay, I know Chuck Norris gets this, the tough award, but I think right then he was beating Chuck.
Oh, my gosh, that's insane.
That's something.
Well, unfortunately, we have to wrap up here. They're kicking us out. Herb Dean, it was a pleasure having you on. I love hearing perspective of referees and officials.
I feel like time is
we just
Can we just give him this seat? I mean, you live close.
Yeah, Daria, get out of here. Herb, go for it.
He can take over. I'd rather sit there and watch him talk.
I'm just kidding. No, George, get out of here.
You never kick her out. I'm not getting back.
Jay, get out of here.
Real quick, Herb, talk about Fight Academy. Talk about your
That's right. Okay,
course.
so don't cut us off. Okay, May 29th, 30th, and 31st, I'm going to have a training course.
Great.
So I get to live a wonderful life. I love my job. I love my sport. You could too.
Well
May 3rd, go to herbdean.com. I also have a gym, the Fight Academy in Pasadena, and it is the best mixed martial arts training facility on this earth. Come over there, have a class. We have a lot of fun. It's a real family environment.
I might check it out.
Yeah.
Shout out to Savant.
Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, and that's due to Savant. Savant makes everyone feel like they're family. I don't know how he does it. Every time I see him, I'm like, man, I gotta be less
I gotta thank you.
selfish. I don't know. How do you do that? Yeah.
That's amazing.
We can follow you on Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah, Herb Dean MMA, Twitter and Instagram. Herb Dean UFC for Facebook.
Real quick, who you got? Mir or Bigfoot next week? I got Mir by via arm breakage, like he did with Sylvia and another one that he fought in Nogueira. that you refed?
Well, I don't know. I don't make predictions. I'm good for AfterBuzz because I like to talk about things after. But as an official, I don't like to make predictions because, you know what I mean?
Dana White's the same way.
Biased opinion.
Are you having to work that event?
No, I'm not going to.
Okay, gotcha.
But they might have a rematch. So, you know, I try to keep it even.
That's true.
Fair point, fair point.
Where can we find you, Jay?
JTan716 as usual, all over the internet, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Bigfoot finishing Mir early TKO, and happy birthday, Mags.
You can follow me at G Hermoza, GHERMOZA. Like I said, I got Frank Mir via arm breakage because that's what he does.
You can find me at Daria, the Jersey Devil Berenato.
Oh, by the way, here's the $5 I owe you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
What did you guys bet on?
I didn't bet anything. I just borrowed $5.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't have any cash. I bought a.
It's a taco thing.
I bought
A taco thing. Interesting.
You can follow her at Daria B28. By the way, really quick, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You won last week via not knocking around, but failure to respond in the middle of the round because I know everybody's watching and thinking, oh, did she win? Did she lose? Did she win? Did she lose? But you won. You won last week.
You didn't talk about that.
You won. You beat the sister. Now, I don't know what's up. You're going to fight March 8th. You have MMA.
In a couple of days, there will be the interview between George and Daria up. Check that out, as well as a couple others we got from this weekend.
Had some nice words from Donna Cerrone.
Right.
We saw him last week.
We talked
that interview's up on, no, not the interview with her and me, but me and Donna Cerrone's up on AfterBuzz TV. Check it out.
And March 8th, come buy tickets to U of MMA. Right there, the sticker on George's computer. UofMMA.com, buy tickets.
Because I'll be fighting.
Daria will be fighting. We have a stacked card, and come meet us in real life, please.
Matter of fact, that's where I'll be hosting my referee school at U of MMA.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's so awesome. We actually get you in there doing the job.
That's
Saves
awesome.
on
See you guys
budget.
later.
Now you can. Now we're done.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.